Once we embrace this new concept of alkalizing our food, this is when things start to change for us. And it's a very simple test. Diabetics won't show any color generally. If I test their saliva, they show no color. Their pH of their urine, of their saliva will run between 5s and 6s. And then when they eat an almond, they won't show an increase of that. They have no alkaline reserves to give in order to neutralize the acids from that food. So they're constantly in acidic condition, and that's why they're having to use insulin and other drugs in order to neutralize those acids. Number one acid, of course, is sugar. Sugar is an acid. It's a poison. Our bodies do not run on sugar. I had an experiment I was going to show you here tonight. I happened to left, but let me just tell you what the experiment is. I use an electrode. I hook it up well, I take a glass of water, and I have a probe that I put into it, and it's attached. This probe actually is attached to a 120-watt light bulb. And I put the probe into the water, and then I turn the electricity on, okay? And then I use the water to conduct electricity. Well, water won't turn the light bulb on, so we can't use water to power the light bulb. As soon as I put salt in it, though, if I take a spray of salt and spray that into that water, that 120 light bulb will go up. Now, I don't know if you've been seeing some of the experiments that are going on with salt, but salt water conducts energy, and we can capture that energy, which will be the next fuel that'll power our cars. We'll actually run our cars not on gasoline, not on electricity, but it'll actually run on salt water. That's what our body runs on. Our body runs on salt water. And when you take sugar and you put it in to the water, guess what happens to the light? It goes out. So the focal point then that I'm suggesting, and there are other research scientists now that their research is being shown that there is stem cell production in the crypts of the small intestine. I've suggested then in my research that the focal point of blood or life production is in the small intestine. Not in the bone marrow, not in the liver. These are just precursors to the foundational focal point of blood production, which is in the crypts. Here we see some biopsies. We see of the jejunum. This is the part of the small intestine here. It has these appendages. You can see these here. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. See the appendages here? Acidic damage here are the bottom left and right pictures. In cases of celiac sprue, which is where acids have significantly damaged the intestinal villi, that the body goes into body wasting. Now, when food leaves the stomach, it has to come out in a liquefied state. And the pH ideally for the food should be between 8.4 and 8.6. It's an alkaline state. The food that we eat then flows down into the crypts of the small intestine, and it's within the crypts of the small intestine that a wonderful miracle takes place. Stem cells are born, erythroblasts are born, and new blood is formed. And the beauty of this, it's taken up by the mesenteric vessels, one being the portal vein, directly through the liver to the inferior vena cava that goes directly back to the heart. It's a freeway that goes from the small intestine, the new blood being formed right in our intestinal tract, going from there, the new stem cells from there, through the liver, and then on to the heart, to the lungs, back to the heart, and then to general circulation. Here we see a picture of the small intestine and the portal vein as it picks up the new blood, driving it then into the portal vein and then directly back to the heart. So our food literally becomes our blood, and our blood becomes our flesh. And when we're in a state of any imbalance or any state of acidity, then we go into body wasting. In order to maintain our blood at a certain level, our body cells then can become our blood when we're sick or tired. The intestinal villus is like an amoeba. Digested food goes into the villus takes the digested food into its structure, assimilates, and finally transforms it into an erythroblast, which then becomes the new erythrocyte, or red blood cell. The quality of this blood is determined by the quality of what we eat. And I see the quality of this blood change as we move away from acidic foods, more to alkalizing foods, or those foods that will actually build healthy blood. And through observation and years of research and healing up this part of the body, significant changes can then take place. Here you can see the acidic effects of what happens to the intestinal villi on the left, and then to the right you can see the state of the healthy villi. Here are the jejunal biopsies, the upper left and right pictures showing normal villi and finger and leaf patterns, the bottom left-right picture showing abnormal mosaic patterns with obvious damage to the villi. You cannot make blood, or literally healthy blood, without health to this part of the body. As we look at the molecular structure of the red blood cell, and we then look at that food which is much like our own blood, the blood of plants, particularly the chlorophyll molecule, we'll see that these molecules are identical. As I increase the green foods and green drinks of any client or any patient, I see transformations then that take place in the quality of the blood. This is observable. So I came up with this formula. Through a process of photosynthesis, light, that as it's absorbed by plants, take on through their molecules, the chlorophyll molecule specifically, that green then, as we ingest more green, becomes our new blood, and our new blood becomes our new flesh. The reason why the liver is probably the fastest regenerating organ is because it's the first stop on the line of the new blood. From the small intestine to the liver regenerates itself every 6 weeks. It's got a direct supply of new blood flowing from its base to the liver, then back to the heart. Whether I'm working with a bodybuilder, teaching them the principles that you build muscle with blood, not with protein, and that as we eliminate proteins from our diets and focus on chlorophyll, oils, alkaline water, and salt, that we can then build healthy muscles. Just like the strongest animals in the world that build their muscles and bones. They're not building this with protein shakes in the morning. They're building this with the green foods. Here's a case in point. Ryan Marcotte, who was a finalist in the Body for Life contest. The reason he didn't, actually his stats won him the contest, but because he didn't use the Body for Life products, he was given the runner-up prize. He lost 31 pounds of fat. He gained 11 pounds of muscle in a 12-week program, the PH Miracle program, taking him off a protein diet, literally taking him off all proteins, from eggs to chicken to pork to fish. It was zero protein, and then incorporating those foods which would build and focus on building his blood. So one of the most popular breakfasts that we have is broccoli, spinach. I love cucumbers and avocados and tomatoes for breakfast. Salads for breakfast, soups for breakfast. Breakfast, probably the most important meal of the day, really needs to be considered and in many ways changed. Here's a gal that was challenged with rosacea for many, many years, 15 years of skin problems. You can see on the left side you have a high count of white blood cells, particularly neutrophils, and then 30 days later, because the skin's constantly regenerating itself, you can see the transformation of the skin that takes place. But it takes place at the cellular level first. As you improve the blood, you improve the skin, because the skin is a product of blood. So you work from the inside out rather than the outside in. If you want healthy skin, you have to have healthy blood.